Well, look, if you're watching this video, congratulations. You're in a group what we call 3%ers, because this is the advanced strategy group. So congratulations. But look, I mean, fact is, you're in an office of a 3%er offices in the United States, because they're doing true cellular detox. And so, therefore you may have been exposed to some of the other things that we talked about before. But I promise you that these strategies are very, very different. And these are strategies that you and I do every day in our lives. So, and look, I know you haven't heard of them before. So let's dig right in. So this may be somebody who is weight loss resistant and saying, hey, I am willing to go to the next stage. That could be you. Right. This may be somebody who just says, I'm an athlete, I'm someone that's in shape, healthy now, and I want to take it to the next level. Hey, that's you and I, right? I was on both sides of that at one point. But, for whatever reason you're here, you're a 3%er, so really, congratulations. But, let's start right at it, because I think that when we consider these three strategies, we can't not talk about fasting, or what we call intermittent fasting.
Yes, first advanced strategies, intermittent fasting. And a lot of you have been hearing the buzz about fasting lately. It's really all the rage. It is a buzz,
absolutely, yeah.
But there's a right way to do it too. You got to be strategic in how you employ this strategy. So why don't you kind of talk about how you employ intermittent fasting in your life, because it's something you pretty much do on a daily basis now, right?
Well, years ago I had a lot of experience in just water fasting, and look, there's beauty in it and there's major healing. During a water fast, I think a lot of the people, because they are at advanced offices, have heard about how the body can heal, right? Innate intelligence is in the body, and during a water fast, you're really relying on that innate intelligence to do the healing. Animals actually do it instinctively. If an animal gets hurt or gets sick, they literally just don't eat. Now, we humans, we got to be taught this stuff, right? So, here we are teaching you. But an intermittent fast is a little bit different. An intermittent fast is where you bring calories down to maybe 500 to 800 calories for a specific time, or intermittent fasting that we're going to teach them today is just going without food for a short period of time, but doing it daily. So we call it daily intermittent fasting. So what does that look like? I'll make it very simple for you. You eat dinner at night, right? Maybe it's 6, 7, or 8 at night, whatever you eat dinner, maybe 5. But then you go at least 16 hours without food. Would it work for 14 hours? Yeah, it would. You're gonna get more benefits at 16 and 18 hours without food. I'll make it even more simple than that. Don't eat breakfast, right? What time do you eat breakfast? Or your meal after dinner. Let's not call it breakfast.
Right, and on days when I'm intermittent fasting, I wait till lunch. So around maybe 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon the following day.
That's when I eat. And I eat a very small, high-fat, moderate protein meal. And then whatever, I start eating maybe around 6 o'clock, and I could eat a big dinner from 6 to 8 o'clock. We'll talk about why that's significant. So, okay, hold on a second. I've got to ask the question. They've been told, we've been told, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. We'll take it a step further. Not only is it the most important meal of the day, but it should be your biggest or smallest meal of the day?
Biggest.
So you're saying,
king, right?
Yeah, all right. And you're saying you don't eat breakfast, and you look that way. I'm saying I don't eat breakfast. So wait a minute, what's going on here, right? We have to bust some myths here. There's some 180 truths here. So the fact is when you look at the healthiest cultures, they either don't eat breakfast, or it's so small that it really doesn't kick the body into, the metabolism, their body firing to the next level, if you will. So it's forcing their body to gain its energy from what's stored in the body as opposed to what you're eating. So again, when we look at cultures, there's really, in even European cultures, that's where the continental breakfast, we go as Americans, we go, is this really breakfast?
A little fruit, what's this? Yeah.
So it's safe to say it's an American thing, right? The biggest meal of the day, the breakfast. Yes. Here, how does this happen, right? I ask myself that question. I hope they're asking themselves that question. Well, most people have such a cellular inability to burn fat for energy, and that's a hormone problem. We discussed it a little bit in the last video, that eating breakfast can make a lot of sense because they've been burning muscle a lot of the night for energy because they don't have a hormonal ability to burn fat at the cellular level. That's a hormone problem, a toxic problem. And therefore, what happens is they wake up famished and they want to obviously eat, and therefore they're stopping some of that breakdown. So eating breakfast for them makes sense.
Right.
But what about if we fix that problem? We're doing the things that we're teaching you to do.
Fixing the cell.
Now, when you don't eat, your body's burning what? Fat. Exactly. And there's a hormone shift that happens. When you look at the studies on intermittent fasting, we see this, massive growth hormone rise. In men, it's like 2,000% rise in growth hormone.
Isn't that for anti-aging?
Absolutely. Yeah. So growth hormone makes you age slower, heal faster, and puts you in weight loss ability.
What to like about that,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. And for women in that same study, you're talking about a 1,300% rise in growth hormone.
Wow.
By not eating, really? By skipping breakfast? Yeah, because your body, you eat at dinner, you're fasting through the night, and you're continuing that fast, and eventually the body raises the growth hormone to protect its muscle and makes you an efficient fat burner.
Very cool.
I call it hormone manipulation. That's what I call it. Because the key, and this is something that I love to teach, is the key to weight loss is more about hormones than even the food that you eat. And the big thing really that drives hormone resistance, meaning the cell can't hear the hormone, is toxins. And we talked a lot about that. So true cellular detox is really the key. But anyway, so going without breakfast is a strategy that raises growth hormone. It definitely slows aging down, and it definitely makes you more efficient fat burner. And I think it's an advanced strategy. I mean, that's why it's here. Meaning that I think that someone who's very challenged and with fat burner, we need to do some detox first.
Right.
Maybe even a few 3-month plans.
Right.
Before they would add this in and really get the benefit of it. So but that's why it's here. But I'll tell you, I've worked with many clients that this is a tipping point for them as far as their health and energy goes.
Really get more results. Yeah.
When you look at studies on anti-aging, and you brought that up, there's really nothing that holds water more than eating less. But here's the problem. We think of eating less is pushing food away, right? A caloric restriction. Yeah. Yep. and there, that's right, we both said it. One thing we'll tell you is caloric restriction does not work for long-term weight loss. Does it work on the short side? You cut calories? Absolutely. But what happens is your body then thinks it's starving, and then it starts to lower its metabolism, and then therefore the weight loss stops. And literally you have to keep lowering calories, lowering calories, lowering calories. Of course, your appetite's going through the roof, your cravings are going through the roof because your body's saying, I want to live. I don't want to have to keep eating my muscle down. And so then therefore you give into the craving. But caloric restriction, is a problem. So how does intermittent fasting play into that? Well, it's very different because we're eating very little. We're eating a small meal maybe during the day. And you can give them some meal ideas, okay? That's your job. And then at night, here's the key. If you don't eat enough, if you don't eat like a Roman or a Greek, who, by the way, intermittent fasted, in that big meal at the end of the day, your body will think it's starving. And therefore, it will start to slow the metabolism down. So the good news for you is this. Eat a big meal.
Enjoy it.
On the diet, though, right? We want a meal of a lot of good, healthy meats and vegetables, and all the things that we've been talking about, all the healthy fats, which we've laid out for you in your resources. So that's the key.
Intermittent fasting, got it. All right, so eat like at a feast for evening meal. All right, go through, skip breakfast. Now, are you skipping breakfast completely? Can you drink water, or do you sometimes drink the organic coffee, tea, add a little good fat in? Does that keep you in fat burning mode?
Yeah, if you eat very little, it really doesn't, the body won't tap into that as an energy source and then break that fast. So, having a little bit of organic coffee, which we talked about, right? With a little bit of butter or MCT oil, or real grass-fed cream, perhaps.
Coconut oil.
Coconut oil, any of those fats, that won't, absolutely
kick you out.
Right, won't kick you out of the fast. So that's fine. And, the Chinese, they drank warm water to cut appetite, or tea.
Or with lemon.
Right, yeah.
Nice
So,
too.
Having something nice and warm in the morning is something that I love to do.
Especially when it's cold outside.
Absolutely.
Very
so you can
comforting.
have that warm beverage, and that's not going to throw you out of the fast.
Awesome. And waiting till about between 1, 2, 3 o'clock, have kind of a lighter lunch of, good protein, quality fat. Sometimes just even a nice salad or a lettuce wrap with really nice protein in it, some hard-boiled eggs. Sometimes I just have a couple scoops of coconut oil with possibly some whey protein.
That's what I do.
It can be kind of what you want it to be, but the key is the really big, fulfilling, satisfying meal in the evening to tell your body it's not starving.
And we have for you the smoothies, right?
We do.
The True Cellular Detox smoothies,
Yes.
which we call gut healing, right? Yeah, and that's a good idea for one of those meals. And sometimes I'll just eat an omelet or a couple of eggs with a little bit of organic cheese.
Yep.
Is something that I like to do. So it's really simple ideas.
Yep,
And
great
I'm sure
options.
you'll give them more in the
Smoothies for
resources.
lunch.
Yeah.
Another kind of fun 180 idea.
All right, we better get to strategy
Not
two.
just for breakfast. All right.
Strategy number 2.
All right, let's do it. So strategy number 2 is ketosis or keto adaptation. So I'm not sure if the audience has heard much about the ketosis, the ketogenic diet, keto adaptation. What is it? What does it mean? How do we implement that strategy?
Yeah, I think that those who have heard about it probably heard it from Dr. Adkins, but I do want to differentiate, Dr. Adkins, I don't think he did a great job, and I have a lot of respect for the man, but I don't think he did a great job of saying to people, it's not a high protein diet. If you eat too much protein, the problem is it converts to sugar. And too much protein anyway, many studies show, it really ages you very fast, right? So we don't want to eat too much protein. So it's very moderate protein. We'll discuss amounts, but it's a very high fat diet. Very low carbohydrate diet. Look,
high fat, moderate protein, low carbohydrate. That's the ratio.
Yeah, and I think that the True Cellular Detox diet, the 3 exchanges that we gave them, that's a low carb diet. But this is a very low carb diet. And what it's doing is it's making the cell can only use 2 things for energy, sugar or fat.
Sugar or fat.
Most Americans, and this is the problem, right? They're stuck as sugar burners with only the ability hormonally to utilize sugar for energy. They're not very efficient at utilizing fat for energy. Cellular inflammation, the hormones it can't hear to burn fat. So, that's a really important thing to understand. So, what this diet does is it forces the cell to utilize only fat. Okay, so
if you're only consuming fat, it can only, use fat. Right. Makes sense.
So we're bringing down your carbohydrates. The average person will go into ketosis or keto adapt. It takes about 2 or 3 weeks. Most people 3 weeks, some people a little bit longer, but we have to get their carbohydrate intake under 50 grams a day. Now look, how do you track that? They have apps for this. You can Google it. How many carbs in a cup of? How many carbs? And then after
even counting your vegetables.
After 1 week of doing that, you don't even have to count anymore.
Right.
You just kind of know. Yeah. But genetically, some people can genetically even do 60, 70, even 80 carbs and stay into ketosis. But for the average person watching this, if you bring it under 50 grams of carbs, that's kind of a magic point. They can actually buy a meter. Precision Extra meter.
Little blood meter.
We're providing you with articles, by the way, as a resource of every one of these strategies, so don't panic.
Yeah, check your resources.
Absolutely. But they can buy a Precision Extra meter, and what that meter does is it tells you when you're in ketosis or when you have adapted. That means that you're going to be between 0.5 and 5 in ketones.
It's measuring the ketones in your blood. Okay.
It's measuring the ketones in your blood. Ketoacidosis that happens to diabetics, no, that's very high. That's
different.
30, 40, 50, ketones. This is called nutritional ketosis, and it's very, very healthy. And I want to say a few words about why this is so healthy.
What are the benefits, right?
Yeah. First of all, I said your cells can only burn 2 things for energy. When your cell is burning glucose, which is good that it does, and it can do that, but there's more waste when it's like putting a log. If I burned a log, we would see smoke. So therefore, if you burn a log in your house, you need a what? Chimney.
Right. Yes.
You're like a poker. But when you are burning, when you're burning fat, it burns very clean, and it burns like natural gas.
Like a gas stove.
So if you put natural gas on your stove, do you see smoke?
No.
No, of course not. So that's the way fat burns. So when we shift someone over to be a fat burner, they make less waste. Therefore, there's less need to detox the waste. Okay?
Makes sense.
All right, and then there's the other thing. Ketones are needed for the brain, and they help the brain heal. All the way back in the 1920s, they've put people into keto adaptation to fix brain problems. Lorenzo's oil, people might be familiar with that, right? And so, this is not anything new.
No.
It's a strategy that I believe our ancestors would be forced into many, many times without having as much food or without having certain foods, and they would go into this keto adaptation, and it would feed the brain, it would heal the cell. So there's advantages of using ketosis as a tool. I think some people genetically can stay in ketosis, and that's where they feel their best. Other people, it's a tool to move in and out of, and we'll talk about that.
Right.
Yeah.
A couple more things with ketosis, though. Do you want to talk about a couple of the rules that you have for helping people get into ketosis and to stay into ketosis?
Yeah.
You have a rule called the 2-2-2 rule, and you can talk about how you can implement that when you're trying out
Yeah,
ketosis.
so we said get your carbs under 50 grams. They have carb counters, things like that, right? And we have an article. Your protein, I should have said that. You want protein to be a good estimation is maybe half your body weight, right?
Okay.
I mean, if you're 150 pounds, 75 grams a day is about normal. Some people, if you work out a lot, can do more protein. If you're a bigger person, you can do more protein. So that gives people a pretty good idea.
But the moderate protein. Key.
The moderate protein's key. So, but my 2-2-2 rule is a way just to make sure that people are ingesting enough fat. Because we want at least 70% of the diets from fat, and we have those fats that we recommend in the resources, but 2 tablespoons of grass-fed butter a day. Remember, butter's not bad. That was a 180 I gave you.
Yep.
2 tablespoons of coconut oil, which you said earlier helps you become a fat burner.
Right, because of the medium chain triglycerides in it.
Now, this one may seem a little odd. It's 2 teaspoons, not tablespoons, of sea salt. And the reason why is when you're adapting, you tend to lose more sodium and potassium. And the sea salt helps your adrenals, but it also helps maintain the electrolytes, which is very, very important in the beginning. And I could add one more tool, 2 tablespoons of your favorite MCT oil.
All right.
Which is that fat, the pure medium chain triglyceride that puts us into that fat burning. So you could say 2-2-2-1 or 2-2-2-2,
Right.
or 2-2-2.
All right.
But the 2-2-2 rule will make sure you're getting these types of fats in.
Right. So grass-fed butter, coconut oil, sea salt, and the MCT oil, and that's all listed in the resources section. But just to add that in to help you kind of shift over
and
to
just
ketosis.
back on the butter thing real fast before we leave that point. Most Americans lack a fat called conjugated linoleic acid.
CLA.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's another fat that you need to be a fat burner at the cellular level. And it's missing because you know where you get it from? I know you know, but they might not know, is grass-fed everything.
Grass-fed animal products.
Grass-fed animal products, that's where CLA is. So when you're eating grass-fed butter, you're getting a ton of this fat that we need, that most people are deficient in to become a fat burner. So eat butter, folks. It fixes the membrane, fixes the brain, and it also helps with the fat burning at the cellular level. So
Huge, and grass-fed when possible.
So and then you asked another trick. Okay.
Another trick, and your other rule. So you have another rule for ketosis, and it's the 5-1-1 rule. And can you talk a little bit about that, and also situations where people try out the ketogenic diet and really aren't seeing results, or maybe the weight loss they want? So you can kind of talk about both those points.
That's actually the third one. We'll talk about how I discovered that from this. But look, the body does everything to survive. I always say everything's about survival, or AKA adaptation. It wants to adapt to survive, right? So what happens when your cells are becoming efficient and they're only using fat, it says, wait a minute, I need it. I want to hold on to it. So many people put themselves in ketosis, they lose weight and it stops, right? And it stops. We hear this, right? So, and it stops typically, and you get this kind of loose fat everywhere you don't want it. Guys, we get it here. Girls, you kind of get it around here, right? So that can happen really in any program, right? Well, there's a solution to it, and I think you're going to like it. So what happens is the body wants to hold on to the fat. So it does 2 things, at least that I have discovered, that it plugs the fat cells with water, and that is why that kind of loose cellulite type of fat occurs. So your body's stopping because it wants to hold on to the fat, just in case. that all the food runs out. It wants to survive. It does something else. If you Google, like, really low carbohydrates, it causes insulin resistance. No. It doesn't cause insulin resistance like eating sugar or a typical diabetic, right? Insulin resistance. What it does is that to keep the fat, it'll blunt the insulin receptor on the cell. Remember I said the receptors are what the hormones connect to.
On the cell membrane.
That's right. So it literally will blunt it, deafen it, if you will, so it doesn't hear the insulin as well. And when insulin goes up, what happens to fat? You store it. So the bottom line is this, your body will get itself to store more fat, hold on to more fat by blunting and creating some inflammation. And it actually doesn't even create inflammation, it just literally shuts it down a little bit. So that's the point. So what do we do to solve that problem?
And that would enter strategy number 3, something called diet variation.
And
let's explain that.
Right, exactly. And this strategy means we vary the diet by doing 1 day a week of high carbohydrate, healthy carbohydrates.
Carb loading.
Carb load. So 1 day a week, mine's Saturday, and I just eat like a king, right? And it's probably, I'm a little more tired that day, to be quite honest with you. However, what happens is the second day after, you go, wow, I'm visibly leaner. How did that work? I just ate sweet potatoes, I ate more berries, more fruit. Healthy starches and healthy foam, way more vegetables. I mean, maybe you did 100.
I'm not saying to go eat pizza and a bunch of pasta,
right.
No.
Very healthy people could actually get away with it and still look leaner, believe it or not. But we're not telling this group to do that. Maybe go up, shoot for a goal of 100 to 150 grams. I'm telling you, magic happens. You will look and go, what happened? Don't do it right away. Wait till you know you're in keto adaptation. Takes about 3 weeks. How do you know? 0.5 to 5 on the keto meter. It's all in the article.
Test your ketones.
But test your ketones at that point. Listen, I don't even need to test my ketones. You know how I know I'm in keto adaptation? The first thing that changes is my brain. My memory goes through the roof. I'm able just to memorize everything. Like something magical happens with my brain, and that's because when you keto adapt, the ketones come off of when you burn fat. When you adapt, your body holds on to the ketones, and the brain loves ketones. That's why they used to use it to fix the brain.
Right.
And you just notice the difference.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
And this is kind of one of your rules you call the 5-1-1 rule with diet variation.
So the 1 day is high carb.
Explain that. Okay, so 1 day high carb. So what's the other 1 day, and then what are the 5 days?
I don't eat lunch at all. Or our breakfast at 1 or 2 in the afternoon. I go and I go 24 hours. I eat dinner, then I'll eat dinner the next night. Some people even go the next day until they fast all the way. Right. Wow. So it's a fasting day.
Okay.
I don't do them back to back. So I'll say do that one on Wednesday. This week I had 2 of those, but that one on Wednesday and my carb day on Saturday. It varies the diet. And that is strategy number 3 is diet variation. But we're looking at diet variation here is where we're changing it weekly to keep the body changing, adapting, and again, it really is hormone manipulation. It breaks people through weight loss resistance. So.
You can even do it kind of monthly too, where maybe 1 month or 2 months you would follow the basic true cellular detox diet, and then for a month or 2 follow the ketogenic diet, and kind of go back and forth as well.
I just told my son to do that. So my 17-year-old son he never listened to me. He went and heard one of the top scientists talk to a group of athletes and talking about why high carb is not good and they need to go low carb and it makes you bonk proof. And I'll tell my story, but he heard this scientist talk about this and he came from there and said, that's it, I'm doing it. So he went in, he gained 10 pounds of muscle, he gained ripped and shredded. I mean, really amazing transformation. So much so that my 15-year-old said, that's it, I'm doing it, right? So I'm like, these years of trying to explain to them, right? I mean, I'm telling you, my son's life transformed. I mean, his brain turned on, he's up at 7 a.m., which he was sleeping till 10, so you know what I'm talking about. But anyway, so he really got interested. And my daughter was actually, in fairness, was doing it even before my son, because she was doing it, it cleared up her face. I mean, she had major transformation. But I love doing this in the summer. So in the summertime, I keto adapt because I'm a cyclist. And I can hold on to my muscle a lot better in ketosis without eating it because I'm doing a lot of endurance. And I stay much leaner Whereas when I'm cycling, I would kind of lose muscle and get a little fatter in my stomach, you know, and we're going to talk about exercise, and that's an important point, you know, because, but anyways, that's another subject. But ketosis allows me to get up in the morning, not eat, and I can ride literally 4 hours, never eat. I call it bonk proof. When every other trained elite athlete's eating every 2 hours, because what I'm tapping into is about 80,000 calories of stored fat as my energy source. That's what keto adaptation gives you. What they're relying on is the 2,000 calories stored as glycogen or stored glucose. So that's why every 2 hours or so at high intensity exercise, you're burning through it. You need to eat, you need to eat. So I'm able to just keep on going, you know, and watching someone big and heavy with all this extra fat or weight on them, bonking out without energy. Here's the analogy.
Every few hours, yep.
Here's the analogy. I would love to show the video, and I actually saw this. Think about the tanker truck, the gas, like that's bringing gas to the gas station, right? Filled with all the gas, and it's on the side of the road out of gas. And there was another trucker pulled up behind it. They're filling up the little tank of gas. So wait a minute, he has all that gas and he's out of gas. Well, that's the analogy. People today, many of them have all this gas. They just can't tap into it. You know, so they're using that little bit of stored, but man, I'm tapping into my whole tanker, so I'm not running out of gas, right? So anyways, there's some advantages, but diet variation is the third one. And I said that we can look at it weekly. I vary my diet. I go into ketosis in the summer. In the winter, I purposely raise my carbohydrates up to maybe 100, 150 healthy carbs. And I purposely do that in the winter versus the summer. Some people do that opposite.
Seasonally, monthly, weekly, a lot of variation.
That's
so
right.
you can just find what works for you.
And you know, in its adaptation, I believe our ancestors, you know, they were forced into these variations, no matter what, whether it's cold, whether it's just because things grew and didn't grow.
Yeah, just their environment.
Today, we don't do diet variation because we have refrigerators.
Right, and mangoes in
Yeah,
December,
exactly, right, we're able to ship it. So I believe in our genes is this need to vary our diet. And I believe it manipulates the hormones. When you make a dietary change, your hormones shift, and then it allows you to actually start to burn fat again, and things happen and things change. And I have to tell the story about how I actually figured this out by accident. So I would have people that would have trouble getting into ketosis, whether it was a hormone dysregulation, thyroid, something. They would really have trouble burning fat, even sometimes people who were in ketosis still not burning fat. So I would say to them, okay, just go back to the diet I had you on before, you know, around 100 calories, you know, or 100, I'm sorry.
True cellular detox diet.
Yeah, right. Yep. Basic, you know, true cellular detox type of diet. And they were on that diet before and weren't losing weight. I shift them back into it, all of a sudden they lose like 5 or 10 pounds. They're like, oh, I'm losing weight now. I'm like, well, you weren't before. So I said, stay on that diet for 3 months, and we're going to shift you back into ketosis. Lo and behold, they go into ketosis in like a week or two. And now they're burning fat and they lose another 5 or 10 pounds. Seeing that variation shift and seeing people break through into weight loss again has been amazing for, you know, just people who struggle to lose weight. So. And then I termed it diet variation, you know, for that very reason.
And it's hormone manipulation, basically,
it is.
right?
It's really just relying on the body's natural adaptation, you know, what it's doing to survive, raising up growth hormone it does when it wants to survive, and that's really why it works. So 3 strategies. Intermittent fasting, we both do it.
We do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ketosis. Ketosis.
Yep.
We both do it. In and out of it, which means diet variation. And I have my carb day, and I do a fast day. So.
And combining them all at the same time
we
too.
Do.
You know,
absolutely.
With the multi-therapeutic approach, as you say, incorporating all of these strategies at the same time can really supercharge your results.
Hey, look, and you add the true cellular detox to that, and honestly, you know that is what I love to say, that's magic. Well, listen, I talked a little bit about exercise. I led you to that. I almost went into it because there's a big myth. I said I love the 180s, right? Well, the 180 myth is, you know, first of all, I call exercise the cherry on the top for weight loss. You don't need to do exercise to lose weight. However, there's certain types of exercise that if weight loss is a challenge are better. There's even certain exercises that do better for helping your cells detox, better for true cellular detox. So In the next video, we are going to discuss that.
Right.
And I can't wait to give you that information. So we'll see you on True Cellular Detox Exercise.
All right, see you there.